want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us another Sunday online. If you're plugged into a small group here on floor 1, your group is going to be meeting on Zoom this afternoon or later this evening. And I just want to encourage you to hang out with us on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock on Zoom. We do this thing called Common Meal. Everybody brings a snack. We talk about Jesus. We sing some worship and we pray for each other and we encourage each other, because remember, we are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
You're on the gram.
Little do you know how I'm breaking while you fall asleep. Little do you know I'm still haunted by the memories. Little do you know I'm trying to pick myself.
Just Roddy Rich, the box, like the hottest out in Jesus' name. Let's go. I don't care about being hot. I ain't even signed the first deal when they offer me a lot. It ain't just about making money. I keep rapping in the car if it's pointing you to God. See, it's a lot deeper for me. I had a 45 pointed at me, but I didn't get popped. I owe him my life, cause he defeated death for a sinner like me. That's why I never got shot. See, the devil on my soul. He can't have it. Be careful around the people that don't want to see you grow. Then the ones that like bringing up old habits. Faith is believing in something you can't even see, but knowing deep down it'll happen. But if you gotta see it to believe it, then your faith ain't where it need to be, and it'll take practice. Still conversate with the homeless and the addicts. My heart for the people, don't care about the status. The way I feel now ain't the same way I felt when I didn't know Jesus, so you know it's something about it. Stop trying to put me in the box. Tape it up good and put religion on the top. That ain't even really how I roll. No.
It's time to go to church. I said, it's time to go to church. It's time to go to church. I said, it's time to go to church. It's time to praise the Lord. I said, it's time to praise the Lord.
God's so good. Jesus so good. If I could quit my job and go to Sunday school, I would. Yes, I would.
Here's live footage of George Lucas coming up with the idea for Star Wars. There's a pew. Pew. Pew, 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 pew.
Bible verse of the day, Matthew 7:22. Jesus talking about, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, done many wonders in your name? If we're doing that today, we're considered a super Christian, am I right? But then Jesus says, I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Wow. That means heaven is not a place for good people. It's a place for people surrendered and sold out who have been transformed by relationship to him and him alone. God bless you.
Thinking, I know what I want to see. Bust that Bible open, read the verses to me back.
Yeah.
Bust that Bible open, read the verses to me back. Bust that Bible open, read the verses to me back.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Floor 1. It is week 2 of our Love-Hate series, and we are excited to tackle the tough subject of love. It is our hope that you have been receiving some love over the last couple weeks from your small group leaders and from the ministry, and that in turn you have been giving some love out to your friends and your family and the people that you are connected to. I'm excited to jump into this week's message, but before we do that, let's take some time and worship together.
You were the word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you, Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is.
I didn't know a whole lot growing up as a kid, but I did know this one thing. My grandpa, he was cooler than everybody else's grandpa. And it wasn't just because my grandpa really loved and spoiled his kids, which he did. And it wasn't because my grandpa was larger than life. He's 6'3", 300 pounds. The man was a giant. And it wasn't even because my grandpa worked for a food distribution company and he always had free snacks. The reason why my grandpa was cooler than everybody else's grandpa was because my grandpa had a phone in his van. Now, here's something you need to understand. In the late 80s, early 90s, people didn't have phones in their vans. If you want to talk on a phone, that phone was connected to a wall in your house. And so when my grandpa showed up with a phone in his van and we were actually able to go into the car, call from the car to the house, my mind was blown. And then my grandpa completely upped the game by taking that phone, calling Pizza Hut from the car, and then we went to Pizza Hut and we picked up the pizza. I thought there is no way that it could get any better than this. Little did I know, cell phones were quickly going to take over the world. I mean, think about it. There is probably no piece of technology that is more influential in this century than cell phones. There is nothing you have that is more accessible and more socially impacting than your phone. And as cell phones became more advanced, so did their functionalities. We don't even talk on our phones. And so whether it's streaming or posting or gaming, your cell phone is probably the most influential object that you own. And of all the things that my phone and your phone can do, I don't think there is anything any greater than maybe this. Filters! Oh, now this is the best thing that your phone can do. You can literally be anybody you want to be. All right, that is not the kind of facial hair I'm looking for. Let's see here. Whoa, that is definitely not what I'm looking for. Oh, now that's a good look right there. Look at that. Look at that beard and that hair. I would give anything to have that beard and that hair. That is nice. I like that look. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, nope, that's weird. I knew there was one earlier where I could actually be sushi and, oh, nope, that is not, no, that's not what we're going for. No, stop it. No, don't send that to anybody. That is weird. That is, oh, that's not good at all. Wow. All right, let's cancel this. Like, we know how filters work, right? It doesn't matter what direction you're looking, it changes what you see. And you and I, we live our lives through filters. Our filters affect everything that we see. When it comes to materialism, what is valuable, what is not? Well, your filter affects that. And here's the thing, your filter is different than my filter. What you see as valuable, I might see as not valuable. Our filters affect our morals. What do we think is right? What do we think is wrong? How far is too far? What's safe? Filters affect that. And again, your filter is different than my filter. There could be something that you feel completely okay with, but my filter says, no, I think that's wrong. Our filters affect our politics. Now, you might be a middle school and high school student and say, I don't have politics. I don't have a political stance. Well, here's a very simple definition of politics. What do you stand for and what do you stand against? As you get older, that is going to change. What's going to change that? Filters. And there's probably no filter that is more powerful and more impactful as the filter in which we use to see people. And when we use a filter on people, here's really what we're saying. Is this person worth it, or is this person worthless? You see, filters don't just change what you see. Filters change who you see. And regardless of the filters that you use to see your world, it doesn't change the fact that this world is broken. Like, the brokenness of people is all around us, and it is loud and it is unavoidable. And you and I have a decision to make. We can choose to notice the things that are happening in this world and the people that are suffering in it, or we can choose to become numb to it. All of that is through filters. Like, there is that moment right before the moment, right? It's that moment where you have to make a decision on what you're going to do with who is in front of you. And our filters profoundly impact that moment. I mean, do I get involved with what's happening with this person? And if I get involved, is what I'm about to do going to give to them, or is it going to take from them? What do I say to the person in front of me? Is what I'm about to say going to be helpful, or is it going to hurt? And then how do I react to the way that they're acting? Is what I'm about to do going to be a part of this person's solution, or is it going to be a part of this person's problem? There are so many factors that affect the way you and I filter through the things in this world. But it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who your parents were. It doesn't matter where you're living now. It doesn't matter where you're going or who you want to be. You and I cannot escape this truth. We are going to have to decide what we do with who is in front of us. And so unfortunately, here's what happens. A lot of us decide we're going to do nothing. We just say we're going to be neutral, because if we're neutral, we don't have to get involved in the things that are happening in people's lives. And unfortunately, it's the moments where people are hurting the most that our silence can speak louder than other people's hate. I really like what the 1700 Irish philosopher Edmund Burke said. Evil prevails when good people do nothing. The problem is not all the bad people doing all the bad things. The problem truly is all the good people not willing to do anything. It reminds me of what another great philosopher, Gandalf from Middle-earth, said during the movie Lord of the Rings. Like, you're familiar, right? Frodo was given the one ring to destroy in Mordor, and Gandalf and a fellowship of the ring went. Okay, I geeked out for a moment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, shame on you, maybe shame on your parents for not letting you watch the Lord of the Rings. But Frodo is given the task of literally saving the earth. And in a moment of pity, he looks to Gandalf, his leader, and says,
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
Wish this situation wasn't in my life. I wish I wasn't born in this situation. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot like Frodo today. I've just been sad the last week. I've just been thinking about missing the students, missing the leaders, missing my friends, being able to do things out in the world. I'm just sad. I have had moments where I have said to myself, I wish I wasn't born during this time. I wish this situation didn't invade my space. But you and I, we don't get to decide what happens to us. And that's why the great Gandalf says this quote, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. That's it. So what if there was a different way that you and I could approach the difficult situations given to us? So here we are, we're in week 2 of this series called Love, Hate. And I'm going to ask the same question every single day of this series, and that's this. What do you want to be known for? You see, the filter which you choose will answer that question. And so with all that I've already said, let me just go ahead and give you the one point for today's message. And here's what it is. You should let love be your filter. In his letter to the church in Galatia, Paul writes these words. If anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. You and I should be the kind of people that when other people are struggling, we take burdens off of them. We don't put more burdens on them. We should be the kind of people that seek people with love and gentleness and help those who are hurting. I don't know what quarantine has done for you, but for me personally, it has put me in a space where I've been just asking a lot of questions about myself and specifically about my purpose. It's probably because I'm not around anybody except for the 4 kids that are right now running the Myers household, but I've been asking a lot, what's my purpose in this moment? What's my purpose outside of this moment? Now, I don't care if you're 16, 26, 36, 56, 96. I believe there will always be moments where you are questioning your purpose and asking, what am I to do right now in the time that I've been given? And so I can't answer that question for everybody at the deepest of deep levels, but I can tell you this. If you spent this time and even the time afterwards developing the extraordinary skill of discovering what burdens are in people's lives and devoted yourself to lightening those burdens, that would be a life worth living. Paul says we should be those kind of people that help other people out. And then he says, if you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important. I love what he says here. I mean, come on, man, listen. In order for the world to change, in order for people to change, some of us are going to have to get over ourselves. You want to know the reason why we act like we're better than everybody else? It's because we know we're not. We are scared that if deep down, if people knew who we really were, if people knew what we were really about, that would expose us and people would know the truth. And here's the truth. Man, we're all weak. We are all struggling, and we all desperately need each other. And that's why Paul goes on to say this: don't be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God. You will always harvest what you plant. He's saying you will reap what you sow. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard that statement before. It's been around a long time. It's a gardener farmer statement. I don't know if you know anything about gardening or farming. I don't, but I married a gardener and a farmer. And so here's the way this works. When you go to grow crops, you have to plant seeds in soil. Whatever seeds you plant, that's what grows from the soil. So if you plant corn, you will grow corn. If you plant potatoes, you will grow potatoes. I mean, it makes sense. Listen, we're not talking about gardening here, but this translates to your life. Your life, you will reap what you sow. What you sow into your heart, what you sow into the soil that you live in, you will grow out of that. So those are all the things we've already talked about, the things that you find value in, the morals that you carry, what you feel is right and wrong, the friends that you carry, the kind of people that you want to date, maybe ultimately marry, the kind of family that you have, the kind of job that you want to have, the things that you think are important. All of that comes from the things that you sow into your life. And in the middle of all that, what affects that is the filters by which you look at life. It's the balance between love and hate that affects the soil. And so here's the problem when we start talking about love. There are a lot of people that don't know how to love. And the reason they don't know how to love is because they've never experienced love. There are people watching this video right now that have grown up in soils of hurt and brokenness and hate. And so when you read these words from Paul talking about carrying people's burdens, and when you look at the story of the gospel, which is about love, that love creates friction against some people's soil of hate. And so if that's frustrating you, first off, if you don't like what's growing out of your life, maybe you should change what you're planting. You get control of that. Nobody's controlling your mind. You can decide what's valuable and what's not, what you're going to pour into, what you're not going to pour into. And if you don't like the things that are growing out of your lives, in your friendships, in your relationships, in your belief system, you should change those seeds. But sometimes the problem's not the seed. Sometimes the problem's the soil. You see, soil can get corrupt. Whether something enters the soil and ruins it, or whether the seed that's planted in the soil is bad, there are times that soil becomes corrupt. So it doesn't matter what kind of good seed you're trying to plant, there is nothing good that's going to grow because of the soil. And this actually happens in real life with farmers and gardeners. And so what they'll do is they'll actually burn down their crops. They'll burn it all the way to the ground. And you'll actually see this where the ground is charred over and it's black, and you think, well, they've ruined the ground. They've hurt the soil, but they actually haven't. They've healed the soil. And you might be in a situation today when we talk about the balance between love and hate, and you can't grow anything because you're living in a soil of brokenness and hurt. And maybe the best thing for you to happen right now is allow God to just destroy and break down and get rid of those things that you used to find value in, that you used to think were important, but you've discovered that they're not. So then God can heal the soil of your heart and rebuild something. For some of you, that may mean you need to go plant somewhere completely different. This will be a really great time to reset your life and to become somebody different, somebody that can live out what God is calling us to live out. Because it doesn't matter, honestly, what our friends think or want, even what our family thinks or wants. What matters is what Jesus wants. That's why Paul says those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. So here we go. We're back at the Spirit. I don't know if you've been catching this theme, but the last couple of weeks we've been talking about the Holy Spirit. So the week after Easter, we talked about the fact that Jesus left earth so the Holy Spirit could come down and live inside of our hearts. And once the Spirit came into our hearts, it changed everything. The way that we connect to God, the way that we connect to others, the way that we connect to everything. It permanently changed the filter in which we view the world. And then last week we talked about the fact that the Holy Spirit keeps us honest. That there is a friction between what God is calling me to do and what the sin in me wants to do. And when that friction rubs up against each other, it creates this thing called conviction. And that conviction is a way for the Spirit to check in on us and just ask the questions. What are you growing out of the soil of your life? What are you producing? Is your heart okay? If not, let's make some changes, because here's what we know. When we pursue what the Spirit wants, we will experience life. And when we reject what the Spirit wants, we're going to experience death. Paul says it's like this decaying, dying death. And maybe that describes where some of you are right now in your hearts, that there's just like, you just feel like there's just some death inside of you. Like it's just rotten and it's gross and it makes you feel sick. And it might be because you're chasing after things that are not of God. They're chasing things that the Spirit doesn't want for your life. And the Spirit's trying to convict you to say, come on, let's turn this around. So then what does the Spirit want? What is this fulfilling of the law of Christ that Paul talks about earlier in the letter when he says we fulfill the law of Christ when we carry each other's burdens? So Jesus, just literally, a day before he dies is having this moment where he's speaking to his disciples, and they're really like, they're his last words. It's not just the last words to the disciples, but it's the last words also for us before they're about to take him and ultimately kill him and crucify him. And so these are very important things that Jesus is going to say that reveals what he wants for us as we live our lives for him. And here's what he says. He says, I have loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love. Just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love, I have told you these things so that you will be filled with joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. So he's saying, listen, if you want to remain in my love, if you want to experience joy, you want to experience happiness, do this one thing. Not a bunch of things. Do this one thing. Love each other the way that I loved you. Don't love each other the way that your parents love you, the way that your friends love you, the way that your boyfriend or girlfriend loves you. And listen, those people may be doing a great job of loving you, but that's not the love that we're looking for. We're looking for the love of Jesus. What kind of love did Jesus give us? He says that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. It is a sacrificial love. It is a love that costs you something, and you don't regret paying the cost. You would pay that cost over and over and over again. He says that you are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends since I have told you everything that the Father told me. You didn't choose me. I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask using my name. This is my command. This is the thing I need you to do. The one thing, the thing I've chosen you to do. You didn't choose me, I chose you. And you weren't my last pick. I chose you to produce fruit. Know that the God of the universe has chosen you to do something good, to do something great. And here's what he wants you to do. Love each other. What does Jesus want us as the church to be known for? He wants us to be known for love. And we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to each other to love each other, not because of me, not because of you, not because of anybody else, but because of Jesus. Because Jesus sacrificially loved us. We should love other people. Mother Teresa, an incredible woman who spent her life humbly ministering to lepers and the homeless and the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta. If you don't know who Mother Teresa is, do yourself a favor this afternoon. Google Mother Teresa. Look this woman up. Here's what she said. People who love each other fully and truly are the happiest people in the world. They may have little, they may have nothing, but they are happy people. Everything depends on how we love one another. That is why we should let love be our filter, because everything depends on that. And so Paul says, closing out this part of the letter, so let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Therefore, whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone. I get that you're probably exhausted and frustrated and done over this quarantine thing. I don't know if you've been texting people or maybe using Zoom to connect to people with school and your groups or whatever. I just gotta be real with you, man. I'm a little zoomed out right now. I'm done seeing people on the screens. I wanna see people face to face. But just because I'm tired doesn't change the fact that God has called me to love other people. He has called me and you to carry people's burdens. And listen, you may be tired. You may be frustrated. You may have some doubts right now. You may be angry. Maybe you're crying right now. Maybe you just want to give up and throw in the towel. But I'm telling you, you can feel all those things, but don't give up. Don't give up with every opportunity you have. Like, you get that, right? The difference between seeing something as an opportunity and seeing something as an obstacle is the filter in which you use to see it. Listen, there are some of us that have spent these last 6 weeks looking at everything as an obstacle, and that has affected how we view the world, how we view ourselves, how we view God, and everything is a problem. But there are others of us who have looked at the same situations, and we've seen them as opportunities, and we've pressed harder, and we've loved sacrificially, and we've fought harder to help people out. Now, I'm not trying to make you feel bad if that's the way that you've seen things. I'm trying to encourage you that it can change. It's the same thing. An opportunity and an obstacle are the same thing. It just depends on what filter you use. And I never want to forget something that was told to me a long time ago, that the one thing that you have in your life right now that you're taking for granted is something that somebody else would give everything to have. Think about that for a second. There are things in your life that you're like, well, that's not a big thing, or I can't believe I'm going through this, or this is such an inconvenience. There's somebody that would look at that and go, that's my dream. If I could have what you have, imagine what I could do. It puts a lot of perspective on the fact that every opportunity you have, you should do good and not give up. And let love be your filter. You should let love be the filter for the way that you get involved in people's lives. You should ask yourself this question: what is the most loving thing I can do for the person in front of me? And then you should do it. And then you should let love be the filter for the words that you speak into people's lives. You should look at the person in front of you and ask this question: what's the most loving thing I can say to this person right now? And then you should say it. And then you should let love be the filter for how you react to other people's actions. You should ask this question: how would I want someone to live out their love for me in this situation? And then you should do it. Your life can spark hope in other people's lives, but only if you filter it through love. A matter of fact, your life has the potential to bring someone back. There was this school system in a large city that developed this program with a local hospital that helped children who were recovering from sickness and injuries stay caught up on their schoolwork, because when you're a big city, especially an inner city, if a kid gets behind in school, there's a chance they could fail. And then there's a chance they might not even graduate. So when they started this program, they reached out to brand new teachers that hadn't had a chance to get permanent positions in the system, that were doing a lot of subbing. It was a great way for them to get experience. And so there was this teacher who had just graduated, and it was literally her first week out of college, and she got signed up for this program. And so Monday was going to be her first student. And so the night before, she called the teacher and found out that the class was studying nouns and adverbs. So the teacher said, just teach the boy nouns and adverbs for the next month so that when he comes back, he's not behind. So that's what the teacher set out to do. She was gonna crush nouns and adverbs. And so she goes to show up to the hospital and gets ready to walk into the room, but nobody told this teacher that this boy was severely burned in a fire. And he was going through excruciating pain. The boy was so badly burned, not knowing what she was walking into, the new teacher actually gasped when she saw him. And then when she sat down beside him to try to start, they just stared at each other for 15 minutes. He was like a shell, lifeless, just staring straight into space, and she was struggling for 15 minutes on how to have a conversation to start this tutoring process. I mean, nouns and adverbs feel kind of silly in a moment like this. But she decided to do something and take a chance, and so she reached out her hand and she touched his burnt hand. She introduced herself. And she spent that entire Monday talking about herself and sharing funny stories and just doing anything she could to be an influence on this boy. And that teacher came back every day. And every day she tried different things to be light, to be hope, and to be love, all while talking about nouns and adverbs. And so when she got ready to go in on Monday during the second week, right before she walked into the room, one of the nurses stopped her and says, "What did you do to that boy?" The teacher thought she did something wrong and thought maybe she crossed the line. And so she's trying to get ready to apologize, and the nurse says, no, you don't understand. When he first got here, he was so badly burned and in so much pain that he just gave up. He stopped eating, He stopped trying during treatments. He stopped interacting with the nurses. We see this happen all the time with patients. When their situation is really bad, they just give up. And then they die. And that's exactly where this boy was. But then something happened last week. He started eating again. He started caring for treatments. I think we might have actually seen him smile. So whatever you're doing, keep it up. And that's exactly what she did. She kept at it for the next 4 weeks until that boy was in a position that he could get out of the burn unit and go back home. And so that day, there were a bunch of people surrounding him. All the nurses were celebrating him. His family was there to take him home. And there was that teacher who had tutored him over the last 4 weeks. And as the boy was walking around saying goodbye to everybody, giving high fives and hugs, right before he gets in the car, he ran over to that teacher and he wrapped his arms around her and he hugged her as tight as he could. Then he looked up and said, "I just want to say thank you for saving my life." She said, "Saving your life?" She said, "All I did was talk to you about nouns and adverbs." He says, "No, you gave me hope. Before you showed up, I was ready to quit. And then after that first week, I thought, well, there's no way they would send a teacher to talk about nouns and adverbs to a boy that they thought was going to die. So I thought, surely I get to live." Wow. What do you want to be known for? In a world where you can be known for anything, man, let's be known for love. Let's be the kind of people that run to others who are struggling and hurting and who are burdened. And let's lift those burdens. Let's carry each other. Let love be the filter in which we see people. Let's get involved in people's lives. Let's speak words of love and let's react with grace and gentleness. Let's be the kind of people that when they see us, when they see me, they see you. When they see the people from floor 1, they see Jesus. They see love. I don't know how we began to change the hurt and damage coming out of COVID-19. But I know a good way to start. We love each other. Let me pray for you. God, thank you for today. God, thank you for this time that we can just get into your truth. Thank you this time that we can be reminded that we can do something right now, that we can choose love. And that love can be contagious and infectious, and it can change the hearts of people. And that we can spark hope in those who have given up. Whether it's through a text message, a phone call, or a letter. Whether it's through standing 6 feet apart or looking at each other through a screen. We can choose love, and that love can change the world. Jesus, we thank you and we love you. In your name, amen. Well, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us today online. It means so much that you're taking time to connect with us. It is our hope that this is a blessing and an encouragement to you. And we just want you to know that we love you, we miss you. We are counting down the days to where we can do this face-to-face again. And we are in this together. God is in this with us. And we are believing that this week could be the best week of your life. Choose love. All right, guys, we will see you next week.
When the waves come crashing in, but you can't feel the water. When the light shines again and again, but you can't feel the heat on your face. I know the words can hurt, but you can't let it get inside. And I know what they're saying's not true, just believe me.